Hey guys, welcome to Brian's Man Cave. So today I'm doing another live chat, and today with me I got Chris the Atari Creep. Just to give a little bit of an introduction of who Chris is, I got, well, just from looking at his channel anyways, that he started a channel in November of 2013. He's got 489 subscribers as of today doing this chat. And even though his name is the Atari Creep and he has the Atari in there, his content ranges from various video game systems, I've noticed, not just Atari, to classic toys and even movies, and opinions on all different kinds of things. So he's got quite the variety show going on, very much like mine. I like how he's often just expressing his honest opinion on things, and he's always respecting of others' opinions and thoughts. So he always asks for everybody to throw their thoughts in the comments below. He seems to always want to respond to those. He keeps his videos nice and simple, again, just like I do. So I think that's why he's one of the channels I like to watch all the time. You know, it's just simple and raw. Anyways, this is Chris, the Atari Creep.
What's up, buddy?
Geekers and creepers, is it? Or is it creepers and geekers?
And geekers, yeah.
Yes, that's one of his taglines. So, just before we begin, I just want to say I had a little bit of an internet disruption. So, I mean, my internet's usually good or bad, and today it's not the best. So, I might crap out a couple of times, but just have some patience, and we'll hopefully connect back up again to keep this going. I'm going to be monitoring the chat as well. So anybody who wants to throw in some, questions or whatever, you want to throw in your opinion and stuff, throw it in there into the chat, and we'll try and get to it. But anyways, yeah. So let's get to the what I like to do is typically have some questions. I don't want it to be too formal, question, answer. I like to do chats. I like to just talk about stuff. So even though I'm the one asking some of the questions, he's also able to throw some stuff back at me. And so the first one I wanted to ask, and usually I ask about what inspired the channel, but I want to go first. What inspired the name the Atari Creep? Where'd that come from?
Actually, both the channel and the name started in one. I was a group member of this thing called the Gamer Geek Nation on Facebook a while back. I joined them when they had about maybe 1,000 followers. And after a short period of time, the guy David who ran it asked me to actually be a moderator for it. And so I had to come up with a name. Atari is my main love. It's what I do mostly. But I also into creepier aspects of things, the more macabre life. So I just put together the two words, the Atari and creep. And that's really all that, there is to that thing.
So pretty much just two of your favorite things.
Yeah. Just a mishmash of whatever.
Yeah, and it works. I mean, you got that tagline. So what actually did inspire you to start the channel? I mean, I know you just mentioned that you were part of this group of geeks, I guess you want to call it.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to start making videos on YouTube?
Well, the Gamer Geek Nation as a whole, a lot of us moderators, the guy who actually ran the page wanted to have like a collaboration YouTube channel, but we were also going to have our own little deal that we did on the side. So that's when I started the channel. I didn't really actually have any aspirations to do videos for it, for anything, to be honest with you. But he asked us to create channels, and when the YouTube channel collaboration networking thing didn't work out, I just kind of stuck with it because I was having fun with it.
Actually, that's kind of similar to the way I started. I mean, I originally was teamed up with someone else, and we were doing man cave related stuff, and we had a channel just for that, dedicated channel, and I started to think, well, wouldn't it be cool if individually we started our own, like man cave stuff, and then get other people to join in, kind of the same idea. It just it ended up we just kind of stopped doing that, and I thought the same thing. I was having fun making these videos.
Right.
I had no idea what I was doing. I mean,
I still don't.
I think that's it. Yeah, it's a learning curve. I mean, for sure. Like, I didn't go to school during the time when all this stuff was available, right? And probably neither did you. I mean, I think we're around the same age. So yeah, this stuff's not, second nature to us. We're learning it as we go. Even with the live streaming, like this stuff, I totally just jumped into this, not knowing if I'd be able to do it, and figuring it out as I go.
Right on.
But yeah, well, it's a lot of fun. I mean, this is where I actually get to speak and connect with people who are in the same kind of hobbies, the same interests, and it's kind of like when you watch channels that you enjoy, right?
Right, and that's mainly what's kept me going is the whole aspect of getting to know new people like yourself, and there's this whole circle of individuals I would never have met otherwise. So
exactly, yeah.
I watch their stuff, and it's great. It's really fun.
Yeah, and like even like if you tried to connect with this type of people in your neighborhood, you probably wouldn't. I mean, you might find like maybe one, but
right.
But to be able to talk with people all over the place, all over the world, it's pretty awesome.
Well, I talk with
more
there's
people
just so many
great
than I do my own neighborhood, so.
Exactly, I know. I feel like a stranger in my neighborhood. Like I don't even, you wave at the odd person and you're like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, what's his name? What does he do? Who is he? And so yeah, it's like, but then it's like you're online and all these people online. You join the Facebook groups. Like, I know there's the Atari forums. I don't know if you're part of that or not. You probably are.
Like Atari and stuff like that. Forums tend to overwhelm me, especially if there's a lot going on. So I don't do that so much. I do head over to the Atari.io forums quite a bit. It's a smaller, tighter group. Great guys, really is. If you get a chance to check them out.
Atari.io. I don't know if I've ever been on that actually. I probably should.
Atari.io. It's a great site. It's more than just a forum, obviously.
Yeah, it's like the full on
forums though that I contribute to or follow.
Yeah. So like watching YouTube though, like what do you usually gravitate toward? Do you find you gravitate towards more of the video games, or do you have like certain YouTubers that you watch, or some that you started watching?
Yeah, I'm very impulsive with my YouTube watching and making videos. I mainly like to watch things being crafted, to be honest with you. I don't watch a lot of video game stuff, with the exception of a group of YouTubers that obviously I follow. Like, there's a guy named Buried on Mars that I've been watching for a long time. You guys, PK's, it used to be Retro Reviews, now it's PK versus the World.
Yeah.
Those gentlemen who call himself Round 2 Gaming that used to do a lot of really great content that I watched. I don't watch a lot of gaming stuff as much anymore. It's more builds, whether it be in the guitar realm or custom props, models, and stuff like that. I like watching people craft things. It inspires me to do that here more.
I saw that on your channel where you were like, you had a guitar in pieces and stuff like that. I was wondering about that. You just found a guitar in the garbage and
found it in the garbage.
You're putting it back together. And so like you find like a lot of YouTube channels that are like how to build things, and like I find that's one of the best parts of YouTube, really. I mean, is if you want to know how to do something, it's on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's great.
Even something like that, like how to put together a guitar. I'm sure you've found a lot of videos on that.
Well, I've been doing that since I was a kid. That's actually a craft of mine that I already.
That's it. Yeah.
I with something like that, it would be more for inspiration.
I'm
stuck on a project. Where should I go with this? That kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, because I kind of understand. I mean, video games are fun. I like right now. I think a lot of the channels I'm watching the most of probably are the reviewers. Because I like the No Swear Gamer. I think he's very thorough. Yeah, he's very thorough, and he reaches he goes over a lot of points that how to play the game on multiple modes and stuff, and that's something that I'm always forgetting. Right, I'm one of those people that just shoves the game in, and I just start playing it. Right. I forget that there's the switches and all that. Yeah, no it's like, even then it's like I pull the cartridge out and it says on it, it's like, in 29 other games. I'm like, where? Oh yeah, I have to do that. So I like how he does that. And you know, I've always admitted I'm pretty lazy at not knowing all the different. You know, even on something like Kaboom. I think both videos I've done Kaboom on, I had it set where the bucket is smaller,
Right.
and so I'm playing it on like the hard mode. And I've, you know, the Atari dude who likes to do a lot of comments, I think he's corrected me on that one twice.
Okay.
So like, so no matter how many times I watch these videos, it's like I always forget. Oh shoot, I got to look at the. I don't know. Maybe because I grew up with like the Intellivision, and there was no difficulty switch on the Intellivision. I mean, it was built into the menu screen, right?
Right.
So if it was on the menu screen, you would push a button. Also, I played a lot of the Commodore 64, and the majority of those games had like no difficulty differences, right? You just put it in there. And... So what kind of what did you grow up with playing? Like, did you just have an Atari, or did you like what were your first gaming experiences?
My very first system at home was an Atari. It was actually a Sears Telegames Heavy Sixer, and I had a small stack of games.
Which essentially is an Atari, right?
Yeah, that's all it is a rebranded Atari 2600s. Aesthetically,
exactly, yeah.
It's the only difference, you know. Sears demanded that if Atari was going to sell in their stores, that they had their own branded stuff for them. So Atari would manufacture both stuff for Atari and for Sears. Long story short, that's the one I ended up with. We had that for a great number of years, and then a buddy of mine brought an NES over, probably about '86 or so, and it never left my house. So from there, I just jumped into the Genesis, PlayStation, and that's as far as it stopped with me buying new systems anyway. But the majority of my life was Atari.
Right when you got up to the point where cartridges were gone.
Yeah.
So what's... Yeah, I kind of was in the same boat. I mean, I started off on the Intellivision, and you know, that's cartridge based, and then I went into the PlayStation, or PlayStation. I ended off at the PlayStation being, you know, the disc base, and I thought it's to me it not really just because the fact it was on a disc. I just felt that games were just becoming way too complicated. I like the simplicity of the old stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whether I used a cartridge or a diskette or any other kind of physical media, I was always into the, you know, the much more blockier, simple 2D world. I felt once I hit PlayStation, and I thought I would like PlayStation. I really did. Like, I bought it a lot afterwards when it was already like, I think PlayStation 2 was already hitting the shelves by the time I bought my first PlayStation. And I thought I was going to like games like Tomb Raider and all that stuff. And I still remember plugging it in and giving it a try. And I was completely lost. I was just like, what is this 3D world?
Once they started doing a double thumbstick thing, that's where they lost me. To this day, I cannot get that. I don't know what it is.
When you have to get the camera and stuff, like even with Nintendo 64, I mean, I bought Nintendo 64. Again, I've always bought my systems late, so by the time I'm buying them, they're already like considered old. so by the time I bought my N64, I started off with Super Mario World, you know, obviously, but then I tried Mario 64, and even with that, I was just completely lost. I mean, just that whole camera angle and everything just being so different, right? Like when you're used to like the 2D graphics, or, you know, Donkey Kong, and you jump into stuff like that, it's just insane. So yeah, I can. But you didn't really go past the, like, did you ever have an Xbox or anything like that, or just stop at PlayStation? And that was
I stopped at the original PlayStation as far as buying new stuff. I did eventually have an OG Xbox, but it was a buddy of mine, Mr. Paku Paku, modded it and sent it my way, kind of deal.
Yeah.
I never really went out to get that kind of stuff, and I don't think I've ever, with the exception of my 3DS, I don't think I've owned anything newer. I do have a Wii, but it doesn't play discs, and again, it's modded. So a somewhat modern console to play the older stuff. So
I was kind of say, because I saw when I was going through your list of videos, and you did an Atari game. What was it? It was a space game, a space robot thingy. What was it?
Okay.
And anyway, I noticed that you booted up Stella and you were going through the list. I'm like, how is he doing that on his Wii? Because I don't
Actually,
like.
it's
I
an
have a Wii.
emulation specifically made for the Wii. It's 2600 Wii or something like that. Again, a buddy
Oh,
of mine did that for me.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't something you just download or.
No, he set the whole thing up for me. I couldn't even tell you how it works.
Oh, that's cool.
I know how to get into it and use it.
No, I just noticed that it looked exactly like the Stella emulator on the PC. Like that's how when I stream.
Based off of that,
Yeah, it's the same software. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even the Retron 77, which I'm noticing. I think Billy O there in the chat brought up. It uses like the Stella software.
Yeah.
To emulate the game.
And
So what is your thoughts on that? I'm sure you've been following along closely with that. I don't know if you have one or not.
I don't.
Yeah.
You know what? So the $70 plus shipping comes to about $85 to me, and that's a little out of my price range for something like that. I've been gung ho about it, and I really did want one, and I will probably get one here before the end of summer.
If you like you're worried more about the shipping, right?
Not even so much that. It's just that price point kind of bothers me. I understand I've been begging for this very thing. If you go back into my channel, I actually have a whole video dedicated to Where's Our Love, the pre-8-bit stuff,
Yeah.
And I talked about a Retron style system that had 2600, 7800 Intellivision Coleco, something like that.
Yeah.
And
I think we all wanted that.
But, I'm Mr. Mom during the summer. I work during the school year. So I got to pick and choose what I can and can't pick up. And when I saw that $80 price tag, it kind of broke my heart, to be honest with you. I cried like a little girl in the corner. If it was like $50, I probably could have swung that. But I'm
like more.
It, though. I really am, and I know there can be improvements in the software down the line. So,
well, that's it. I mean, it's the first. It's kind of like that stepping stone, right? They're testing the waters. They're putting this thing out. And if you look at the original Retron, like the first one was just a Nintendo emulator, right? It was the Retron 1. It just played Nintendo. And then the Retron 2 came out, and then it played Nintendo and Super Nintendo. And then we go into 3 to have the Genesis slot. And then we went up to 5. And so, in my opinion, it's something like, hey, if this Retron 77 works, if people buy it, if there's interest in the market, that's motivation for them to say, hey, maybe we can make another one with the Atari slot, and whether it would be a different system like the ColecoVision or the Intellivision, or it gets difficult because of the controller issue, right? Or if it would just be the Atari, and then say the Atari 5200, and maybe the Atari 8-bit, something like that, right? Where they can incorporate.
And that's exactly why I wanted to back this thing to begin with. It's not so much what it is. I can play Atari all day long. Between the computer, my Wii, and my actual Atari setup.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It'd be nice to have one on my HD TV. Not that those blocks are going to look any better.
No,
but it's that stepping stone you spoke about. They're maybe getting the idea out there. They're testing the waters, and other people will sit there and say, you know what? Maybe there is a need for something like this. And us older guys with the gray in our beards can get a little more love with the convenience in modern electronics for our old crap. Hopefully it'll snowball into that.
Yeah, like I kind of had the interest in it. It's kind of the same idea, like the ease of connecting it to my big flat screen TV just through the HDMI, not having to deal with the coax and all that stuff, which I did hook my Atari up to that TV and I had no problems, but just thought it'd be kind of cool. The thing that started to really sell me when I first, after they started giving us more information, was the idea that it did have the SD card. Because now we're talking, I can actually put things like homebrews on there, like the Princess Rescue or something like that, and be able to play that on my TV. Because I don't have those cartridges. I mean, Princess Rescue is quite rare right now. Like they stopped production of them.
Right.
I don't know how long ago, but and I have the ROM, but like I can play it on my computer. That's fine, and I even have it on the Atari Flashback portable.
Yes.
But it doesn't work properly. You can't shoot the fireballs. So
really?
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is, but it just doesn't work. So I mean, it plays okay. It doesn't play the same as if you had the actual cartridge and stuff like that. So I'd be curious to see how that would run. And the other thing I noticed, like from the reviews, like there's already been some reviewers, like Metal Jesus Rocks. He did a review on the Retron 77. Hancock did one. And they're all saying things like, you know, Pitfall 2, for instance, one of the better games on the Atari, doesn't work on the Retron 77, right?
But you can load the ROM and it'll work just fine.
You could download the ROM, which is strange because, like, with the Flashback, for instance, the Flashback Portable, you can't get the ROM to work on that one.
Right.
Like, I've tried to get Pitfall 2 on that, and everybody says the same thing. It's not going to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, the Pitfall 2 had that special chip inside, right, for the sound, right? The extra chip. So I think it's always going to be like that. Like, it's going to be the variances in the different chips and what's going on with the system.
Yeah.
But moving from that though, let's get into the Atari box, because I know. Okay, I'm calling it the Atari box. It's the Atari VCS now, right? Like, they've pretty much decided that's going to be the name of it. Yeah. And I know you've done some good videos on that one. So, are you planning on that? Like, I know that's going to be a modern system, right? That's going to be it's going to be trying to compete with the Xbox, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where they're mostly going to fail, if it fails. I'm not saying they're going to, because I don't like to be negative. If you watch any of my stuff about it, I always keep that optimistic point of view with a realistic expectation, you know? And I don't think, even with the specs that they're talking about, it could even come close to competing. If they decide to try to, almost like the Intellivision, try to niche out their own little market, saying, look, we know we're not going to be able to do this, but we'd like you to have fun. Here's the Atari name. You love it. You want to hug it at night, you know? And this is what it can do. And there you go.
Which, so far, we have no idea what it's going to do, right? I mean, I haven't been following it as much as you have. I think you've been a little bit more on top with. You probably get the emails and stuff from them, like anytime there's an update.
I do, but lately all the emails have been about the Kickstarter. What it was, Indiegogo.
Indiegogo, yeah.
Hey, this early bird special's running out. Jump into this. So that's where they've been lately with the emails. Trying to get you to jump in there and buy something before the special price disappears for that tier.
Didn't they bring in like $2 million or something like that?
The last time I checked, which was the week of the launch, I haven't really actually, forgive me, but I haven't really been following it that in depth since that. But it busted $2 million, yeah. $2 million. I didn't think it was going to go that far. An Atari diehard guy who wants the Atari name to come back, but in the right way.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is.
Never mind.
Yeah, like what are you thinking? Like, it's the way the reputation is going, because I know tons of people are just slamming it, and you know, are they taking the good name of Atari down with it? I mean, that's something I kind of worry about. Like, I don't want it tarnishing. I don't know if, you know, to me, this is not the same Atari I grew up with, right? This is a new Atari. Like, I almost wish they would just change the name.
It's a ghost right now.
Like, what do you think?
The name Atari is a ghost. It's kind of like one of those repeating specters. I believe it'll leave a lot of bad taste in people's mouths as far as the product name Atari. Only because of the way they're going about it, the secrecy, and now all this other stuff. I saw a video the other day. Someone's talking about Atari has. I'm not saying they do. So, what do they call it? It's like a bot to go in and flag people's stuff, to put dumb stuff, negative. I don't know what that's all about, but it's actually growing into something a little more than video games. It's turning into more of a soap opera-esque for the 21st century, in a fun way, unlike the Coleco Chameleon, which just took a nosedive instantly and just totally upset a lot of people with the shadiness. I don't think Atari's doing anything shady. I think it's just unrealistic with what they're trying to do. But it's sparked this other line of dialogue and information that's surrounding it, like this weird bot that's going around and flagging people's videos and what have you. Whether it's happening or not, I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I don't know anything about that stuff.
Yeah, I've heard of that from. I've heard of that from. Was it Linda, the AKA the gamer girl?
Yeah,
I think she did a video on that.
my attention.
Yes. I was like, I know I heard that. I watched her video on that because I didn't know what that meant either. I'm like, what do they mean, a bot? Like, what's happening? Are they sending cyborgs to our house or something? Like, what's going on here? The Atari bot's going to come and attack me because I make a bad video on the Atari. Well, didn't who was it? Was it RGT85 or one of the bigger YouTubers said that Atari attacked them essentially, like, you know, made a big thing about you know, fake news and stuff like that because they were saying what they really thought of. And that's the thing, like they were throwing their opinion out there saying, you know, this is the way this is coming across. I mean, you guys don't have it. And I think it was actually because the promo video they showed where the guy's sitting there and he's got the joystick in his hand and stuff, and you see him playing Centipede, and then they found out afterwards it wasn't actually native coming from the machine. It was, you know, he was playing he was probably playing an actual Atari, a 2600, or an emulator of some sort. He wasn't playing anything coming out of the machine. And they said that this was supposed to be, you know, coming out of the machine. So I think he made a video about that, almost essentially calling out Atari, saying like, what is this? Like, why are you not showing something coming physically from the machine? And of course they attacked him. It was like, you know, this is fake news. And I know he did a response video to that. And Atari's been almost quiet about, you know, responding back, giving any more feedback back to that. I think, you know, he's kind of called out Atari and they're just kind of like holding back on him. So I don't know what that's all about, but you know, these are the kind of things.
Are you talking about the Tempest 4000 or whatever it is? Is that the game
I've
you're talking about?
Heard of that. No, this was he was playing
other controversies.
Yeah, well that's the thing. There's enough of them, right? There's a bunch of them that this is where I was going with it. Like, I hope they're not tarnishing the name, right? They're not like, even though they seem to have a lot of backers right now. I'm curious to know who these backers are. Like where that 2 million came from, or 3 million, or however much money they've pulled in by now. You know, actually, one of the guys in the chat's Canadian Zangief.
Yeah,
is that how you say it?
Great guy.
Yeah, Zangief. His points, actually, Atari should have come out with the Retron 77 and done it 100% hardware. And I've noticed a few other people in the chat saying, like Billy O is saying and stuff, that the Atari VCS is not going to have a cart slot. Like, there's going to be no cart slot. So it's not going to play any phisical media. It's just going to be a download box, right? And isn't that... Yeah, and isn't that what the problem is, too, with a lot of people saying that this is just another streaming box? Like, we have lots of these already, right? You can already download, like, even the classic Atari library. You can play these on, what is it, the Ouya?
Yeah.
I know nothing about the Ouya. I've yet to put any thought into that or even look into it. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but
I saw one in the thrift store 3 days ago.
Really? And that's a streaming box, right? Like, is that what it is? Like,
yeah, that's basically all it is a streaming box, really.
So it's just not. I don't know. Maybe something like that might be interesting if I know I can plug it into my TV and play like arcade games. I know Jeffrey Wadley, Jeff Good Gamer. He does live streams all the time on his channel, and he was doing like Popeye and stuff like that, the arcade version. And I'm like, how is he doing that? Like, how is he streaming that? And I asked him, and he's like, oh, I'm doing it on a Ouya. I'm like, oh, okay. What the hell is that? So I was like, I didn't really know what it was. I mean, I haven't been spending a lot of time looking into these type of streaming boxes, and so that's why I'm kind of curious. Oh, hey, we got JLove81 in the chat. That's awesome. I'm going to be doing a live chat with her next week. Hopefully, we got it planned, so that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really familiar with a lot of these streaming boxes, so this is where the Atari VCS is kind of losing me. Like, I kind of wish it did have a cart slot. But that being said, I mean, the new Intellivision also, that's, you know, supposedly going to be coming out. that won't have a card slot either.
No.
And so I think that's just the way of the future, right? Like, if you want the card slots, you got to go to the Retron, right? Unless you modify a Flashback too, which
Right.
I don't know if you have any Flashbacks there. Like, have you ever been interested in those guys?
I've picked them up periodically here and there. More of a shelf novelty than anything. When I downsized, I got rid of them all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really into those too much.
I mean, I picked
Flashback Portable though.
Portable is amazing. Yeah,
that is
I love
one
the
of my
Portable.
favorite consoles.
Yeah, I even have my daughter playing it. Like she takes it in the car with her, and I'll be sitting there driving, and I could hear like Adventure or something pop up, and I'm or what is it? She's been playing a lot of Montezuma's Revenge.
Oh, right on.
So I could hear it in the background. I'm like, oh, I know what she's playing now. And I like that because they're nice and simple games. But I actually ended up, I mean, the only other Flashback I picked up that's Atari is the Flashback 8 because it had the Activision stuff in there.
Right.
And I'm hearing now, or at least there's somewhat rumors that the next one, Flashback 9, might actually have an SD card reader. That's the best part. Yeah, and that's the best part about the Portable, right? That's what I liked about the Portable was the card reader.
Yeah.
And that's what made it really
typical. I mean, there's still decent Atari games, but they put a lot of fluff in there that you technically can't play. Like the Paddle games. And, well, I mean, you can play, say, the Sword Quest titles, but without the manuals and understanding the history of the game, you know, it's like, why is it even on there? So
exactly.
Makes it worth the ticket price, you know?
And some of the other games like Frogger, it's not the original Atari Frogger.
Right.
Space Invaders.
Another one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite port of Space Invaders of all time.
I know. Even the Frogger, I like the Frogger, the original Frogger on the Atari. I like it. I think it's a fun version of it, and it's absent, right? So having that card slot, kind of like what I said with the Retron 77, having that card slot is what's making the difference to me. So if the next Flashback actually comes out and it has a card reader, now I know with the Retron 77, there's limitations with it, with the card reader. It can only read up to like something like 15 games or something, or 7 games, or
right. They're marketing as a, you know, for a few homebrew titles. They didn't want to release something. I don't want to word this wrong because I'm paraphrasing, I guess. They basically didn't want to send a machine out where you could use it to steal intellectual properties, So they limited that so they can just say, well, it's for a few homebrews here and there.
It's for your homebrews.
Yeah, it's my understanding that's going to change with a couple of firmware updates anyway. Or we could just leave it to the Atari Age cats over there. They always come up with something, you know. I'm sure they'll have some kind of whatever.
Yeah.
In the computer and do their little doohickey computer stuff, and bam.
Well, it's kind of like the what is it called? The flash cart, or the cart where you can I don't know if that works on the Retron 77. I don't think I've.
The Harmony cart does not work. No.
Oh, that's a bummer.
And that's
but like you said,
I was okay with it because it had the SD slot, but they didn't announce that it was going to be very limited at launch. So. I mean,
I heard it's using the old Stella, right? It's not using the most current up-to-date Stella too. It's using an older version. Like I can't remember what the reasoning was, but that could have something to do with it. Like it's you know, after a while they had to update the software to work with other games and all that stuff, right? So I wonder if it has something to do with that. But maybe if you could update it or something. That's something I don't have. I don't have a Harmony card. I probably should. I mean, I've been battling on that. I've been battling on that for a while. I mean, I think for the only reason why I'd want it would be for homebrews, right? Because I think I pretty much own every single Atari game I want. But I know there's a ton of homebrews, and I've been going through on Atari Age and looking at a lot of them, and I've been wanting to pull the trigger buying them. But you know, for me living in Canada, the shipping is insane. I mean, to kind of like what you were saying with shipping with the Retron, right? You know, shipping from Atari Age, it's going to be the shipping is going to cost about the same amount as the game in most cases, right? Yeah. So and I have to like be really selective. I mean, I was really eyeballing Halo. Have you ever played that on the Atari?
You know, I played it as a goof for a little bit. It's actually not a bad game. It's really fun. Very well done. Very
Yeah,
well done.
it's kind of like a Berserk style game, right?
Yeah, yeah, but it's kind of weird because it's a Berserk style game, but you're in woods instead of like a confined space, and you have
Yeah.
multiple screens, almost like ET was, kind of like a cube. If
Hmm.
you look at it that way, its map, and it's set up similar to that. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah,
that's my
and
interpretation of it.
it was definitely one, and there was also another one. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Not Altor or Altor or whatever, but there's another one where it's part of that series, and it's almost like a Zelda game. Like it feels like a Zelda game.
Okay.
It's got like a whole overworld map thing, and you got to run around, and it comes with like a whole map. Like I mean, it just looks so cool. I did download the ROM, but the ROMs aren't always the same feel, right? I
Yeah.
always kind of like the actual carts over. I mean, ROMs are great, and I'm glad I can do that because that's how I stream live. I mean, I don't have the fancy setup with the capture cards and all that stuff to be able to like plug my Atari in natively and play right off the system. I just
Right.
don't have, and I know you can do the whole camera thing. So, um, I know you also like to talk about toys and stuff like that, and I've seen a few of those popping up on your channel.
Yeah.
Like what type of toys? I think I've seen you talk about Star Wars a few times. Are you totally just a Star Wars geek, or do you like get into like the Transformers, or do you get into anything else? Or
I'm very nitpicky about my toy collecting, if you even want to call it that. I cherry pick things. Like if I'm into a certain brand, it's very limited of what that brand. As far as Star Wars toys go, believe it or not, I don't have that many. I have a handful of figures. I got a couple of the prequel ships that happen to come with an AT-AT that I bought. I only have one vintage ship. It's a Millennium Falcon. I don't really have any vintage figures, so I don't really collect Star Wars stuff. I am a Star Wars geek, however. I just,
oh
for
yeah,
some reason, I'm not feeling the toys right now. That's all. You know,
yeah,
more the surreal, like the Masters of the Universe. I'm really big into that right now. They're just a wacky. Because you can look at an action figure and it's a person just standing there, and you look at some of the Masters of the Universe stuff and it's psychedelic almost, So I like unique stuff. I guess that's the word for it. Unique and interesting.
like the original ones, like the ones that we had in the '80s, or the newer lineup that came out.
All original '80s, yeah. Yeah, I don't have any of the newer stuff. I don't have any of the classics lineup, as they called it, or any of the Super 7 figures. God, I couldn't even afford any of those. Great stuff, though. No, all the Masters of the Universe I have right now are the original stuff from the early '80s.
So the old style, yeah. My friend had
Yeah.
those. I for whatever reason, I never really got into the He-Man figures. I played with them at my friend's house. He had a ton of them. He had like every one of them I could think of,
Yeah.
and he had the two castles. He had the Gray Skull castle, and he had the Skeletor's castle. He had like everything He-Man, and I wasn't. I don't know why I wasn't that big into it. I think I was more fascinated with Transformers
Yeah.
and GI Joe at the time.
I never got into
So
either one of them. I liked the cartoons. I never collected the toys. Now it's funny that you talked about not being in the Masters. When I was a kid, I wasn't really into the Masters toys. I was really into the Star Wars toys, and I had tons of them. But it's kind of like my collecting taste.
like the original.
Yeah, the original stuff. Yeah.
My brother had those actually. I actually remember playing with them. I remember he had Darth Vader, he had Luke Skywalker, Yoda, and I actually played with them along with my own toys. Like I had my GI Joes and stuff, and
Right.
I didn't like this because they weren't as like I just felt they're earlier, but GI Joes had more of the movement of the limbs and all that stuff, and they could
Right.
turn and twist and do all this. Star Wars, the original Star Wars toys were very stiff, like their arms didn't bend, and the swords were built into their hands, and so I didn't like them, so I didn't really care too much about them. And I think like when I got older, I still didn't care too much about them, and I think they ended up just getting donated, or I don't know what happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like, oh my god, like they're like worth money, aren't they?
I know. I know. All my Star Wars stuff went to a nephew of mine.
Yeah, and then you from there you don't know where they go from there, right?
Yeah.
Same with Transformers. I mean, I had a ton of Transformers. I was able to like hold on to a few, and then I went through a spat in like, oh heck, when was it? Probably late '90s. I just went through this like thing where I just wanted to start collecting Transformers again,
Okay.
and or I just kind of missed having them. Like I lost them all since I was a kid, and so I started going and buying them. Like maybe even before that, maybe in the late mid '90s. And I was going to like the flea market, and I was picking up stuff, and I was buying them on eBay, and I ended up buying like the original Devastator, because I've always wanted Devastator, the original Devastator, the green guy. Started buying that on eBay, and then I started buying Optimus Prime. I actually found an Optimus in a thrift shop, was in full on Generation 1 with the trailer and Optimus himself. It didn't have all his parts. He didn't have his fists and the gun and anything. But I mean, still, I mean, I picked it up. I was like, oh my God, original Optimus Prime. And I took it to the counter. I'm like, how much? And she's like, $1. I'm like, okay, here you go.
I don't know.
And
let me think about this.
yeah, so I mean, I was going crazy, and I got to the point where I was just like, I had to stop, because I'm like, I was also buying a lot of Transformers Beast Wars. I don't know if you followed any of that.
I didn't follow, but I do remember from commercials and such. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I got into it. I didn't get into it heavily, but I started buying the toys heavily, and I still have them today. I mean, I was like literally buying them from like Walmart or wherever, still in the bubble wrap and everything. I'd go home and I'd just be like staring at it, be like, these guys look cool. And then I put it in a box.
Yeah.
And I was like, a couple of them that I really, really liked, I opened up, just because I thought they were cool. Or I bought 2 of them, like the, I believe my Megatron. I bought 2 Megatrons, I think, or Optimus Primals, and just so I could open one and play with it. And then I realized how I couldn't friggin' transform these things to save my life. It's kind of like I was able to do the old Transformers, but these new ones are too complicated. Just like I was able to play the old video games, and the new ones are too complicated. So I just kind of left them in the boxes. Yeah.
Maybe that's why I never got in.
I always feel like I'm going to break it. Well, if you ever watch the Retro Nostalgic Nerd, he does a lot of Transformers on his channel.
Okay.
And he buys like them in the boxes and stuff, and he'll actually open it up, and then he's sitting there transforming it, and you could hear the cricking and the creaking and the cracking, and you're just waiting for that arm to snap off. And
yes.
I know Green Lantern, he's in the chat right now. He's a fan of him too. I'm sure he can contest to that.
Yeah.
Just watching him.
That sounds cool.
Just watching him trying to like transform these things, and I mean, I'm not brave enough to try that anymore. I just like, I have what is it, Unicron? Have you seen the original Transformer movie from 1985 or 86 or whenever?
Yep.
Yeah. So Unicron, the giant planet.
Mm-hmm.
I bought him. And I transformed him once, and I've left him that way ever since.
Yeah, and you know what?
I was like, I had to use
with those things.
Yeah, I had the instructions out. I'm like, I'm actually using instructions on a transformer right now, and I transformed him, got him back into robot mode, and I'm like, you're done. And so if you watch my, I think you can see it in probably some of my pictures on my. I don't know, my Facebook page or whatever. If I have those pictures, you'll see him in the background there. He's just sitting there. I'm like, I'm not ever attempting that again. That's insane.
I don't blame you.
So what cartoons did you watch? Did you watch like mostly first, or you didn't like?
As far as cartoons go, I was really into more of the classics, like the Woody Woodpecker, Bugs Bunny. Back when they were violent.
Oh yeah.
But after school, I did watch a lot of G.I. Joe, though I did not like the toys. Something about them seemed flimsy to me. Maybe because I was used to that stiff Star Wars thing. They were cool toys. I just could never get into them. Inspector Gadget, I watched a lot of Mask. Mask was another
one.
Mask. I never got the toys, but I loved that cartoon. And of course,
the toys look cool for that too. Mask, I remember my brother had a few.
Yeah, they were great. I had a buddy of mine down the street that had pretty much anything that would have come out from them. That's probably why I never wanted to get them, because I could just go there and play with them, So, but they were amazing toys.
Yeah, I think that was the good day. The good days when they had a lot of the cartoons, and the toy line was just as fun. I mean, um, I even Cops. I watched the show Cops, and I had all the Cops figures and stuff. And
They
you
made
know,
figures
I
for
think
that.
I was one of those. Huh?
They made figures for the show Cops.
I think they made the figures before they made the show, because
That's
the
awesome.
figures were much different. You could actually compare the like. It's kind of like the Transformers. The Transformers toy line was pretty much made before the show, and that's why when you look at the toys, half of them look different, right? The Cops was the same thing. A lot of, and I noticed that when I was buying them off the shelf, like
Okay.
the certain characters, they had similarities, but there were some differences, and you could see them, like the paint job or whatever, or the
Yeah.
detail on their faces and stuff was a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, the toys were awesome, and they were like, they were kind of like bigger than a GI Joe, but smaller than say a Barbie doll. Like they were kind of in that kind of mid range, and they had all the moving parts, like everything moved. They had all the accessories, like um, the billy sticks, nightsticks or whatever you want to call them. They had machine guns, and the cool thing about them is their weapons took you remember paper caps, the things that
Yeah.
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 So they would take those. So you'd put that in their weapons, and then you would pull it back on it, and it would actually snap the cap. And I mean, it was
So we're
awesome.
still talking about the show Cops, like the reality show.
No, we're talking about the
Oh,
cartoon.
okay. Now I feel like an idiot. Everyone in the chat room right now is probably losing their friggin' minds.
Yeah,
I'm thinking that. Yeah.
cops. Yeah, yeah. No, it was C.O.P.S, which
I can't
was
say I've ever heard of it.
Central Organization of Police Specialists.
Wow.
Oh well, it was a cartoon that came out. Let's see, when was that? Geez, I mean, everything when I was a kid is a blur. So
Okay.
it was probably like just around the time when Transformers has been out for a little while. Probably after 86, 87, 88, somewhere around there. That's
Okay.
when they became big.
Okay.
That
That
was a
makes
toy
sense
line
why I
that I
never heard of
liked.
it.
Yeah, you might have been already done with toys at that point, or cartoons. So, yeah, like I just also wanted to touch back on your YouTube channel.
Okay.
One of the questions I like to ask, like YouTubers specifically, is like, what motivates you to come up with content, and like, I know you mentioned something about the sporadic nature of your show.
Yeah.
So like, like from start to finish, what do you typically do? Because so far every YouTuber I've talked to has their own different methods of doing things, and
Right. Right. Hardly anything I ever do is scripted out. Hardly anything. Very rarely will I do something like that. I think I made two videos. One was a Halloween special I did where I built a Sega Genesis inside of a Necronomicon. I called it Necronomicon. So that was the only one that I actually wrote down. I want to get these shots. I want this to happen, and pulled it off. What typically happens is an idea will hit my brain. Within 25 to 30 minutes, I have the phone in front of me like it is right now. I make 5 or 6 takes of it, however many it takes to get what I want to say out for the most part. I export it, and up on YouTube it goes. Um, if it's news like, say, the Atari box when it first came out, bam, I jump on the camera. Or if I see another video and I'm like, you know what? I think I can expand upon that. That rarely happens too. But most of the time, it's just in my day to day life, like I'm playing a game. And I guess a great example would be I did a video a while back called "Why No PlayStation Love" or something like that. And I talked about how it's not really talked about as much as a lot of the other retro esque stuff. And I wanted to
mm-hmm.
give the original PlayStation some love, talk about it, explain where it came from, that great story of Nintendo screwing up with them, and um, so my ideas will literally come into my head, and for the most part, within an hour or two, I'm editing it and then getting ready for YouTube. Um, Nothing generally takes a couple days. I don't write down, okay, Tuesday I'm going to talk about XYZ, and then next Thursday, whatever. It's literally spur of the moment. The idea comes to my mind. I think of what I want to say. I hopefully say it well, and I upload it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, yeah, I hear you there. I mean, scripting for me, I I don't know. I have a terrible memory. First of all, I'm one of those people that forgets everything. And so if I tried to script, it would take me way too long to just sit there reading lines, and then the editing. Like editing is a huge thing, right? Like when you're making videos, editing is where the time is, right? Making the video is easy in most cases. It's the editing process. So you kind of skip over that. Like you're kind of like just try and do it all in one take, and if it doesn't work, you're like delete, start again.
Yeah.
Instead of like putting it into an editing software and trying to cut and paste and move things around.
My stuff does go into an
editing like you do it all through your phone, right?
Yeah, it is like a little editing suite in my phone called KindMaster. I've been using it for a long time. If you watch my videos, it'll say it right on the top corner.
Yeah. I keep seeing that pop up there. I'm like, what's KindMaster? I didn't know what that was. Yeah. I figured it had something to do with
But I mean, there is a little bit of editing. I still have to export it and all that stuff. I put a little thing in the beginning, sometimes something in the end. If there's a spot that needs to be chopped up, I'll do that, and I'll insert something. I'll put pictures up. I'm talking about this Coke can, and I'll have a picture of it next to my skull or something.
Sure.
So there's like that much editing in my videos.
Yeah, small editing. Yeah.
I don't even have lighting.
Lighting is the pain in the ass, because I know that from experience. I mean, when I first started doing my videos, typically I do it in my man cave, which makes sense. Right now I'm in my office, so it's different. It's not a very interesting background, but there's a little bit more lighting going on. But down in the basement where my cave is, my lighting source just sucks. And when I first started doing videos, you'll notice like half my face is dark and the other half is light, like bright light and dark. And so I look like Two-Face in most of the cases. And actually, the one person that kind of brought it to my attention was someone that was just trolling me anyways. So, he was making fun of me and telling me to screw off and, stop sharing my garbage videos on his Facebook page or something like that. And I realized after he said, and then after that, he's like, by the way, don't shoot your videos with lighting on one side of your face. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. So I'm like, okay. So what I did was I went and I found another light source somewhere, and I kind of propped it up on the other side of me, and it's made a little bit of difference. I mean, it's video is all about lighting anyways, right? It's like photography. You gotta figure out your lighting. But I mean, in most cases, like if you're in a well-lit environment, and I've watched a lot of your videos, and I don't see any problems with the lighting. So you seem to be in a well-lit house, and I know you're part of the world. I don't know. Do you get a lot of like bad weather, stormy weather, winter? I don't know where exactly you're.
In the winter, I'm in the Northeast. I'm in the Boston area.
Oh, okay.
It's funny because some winters will have nothing, other winters will be destroyed. So there's no this, that, or that. Yeah.
So you're not living in. Yeah. So you got probably good lighting going on through your windows and stuff. Depending on when you like, do you normally shoot during the day or do you wait till nighttime?
90% of it's during the day when no one's home.
I
try to do it when the kids aren't around, unless I want them involved.
Yes.
But the little ladies at work, the kids are at school or at camp. That's when I typically try to do it. Actually, I don't know if you saw any of my road rage videos, but that actually came about
in the car.
Yeah, that's the only place I could have done it. So I did a few in the car, and then one day I was just raged up about something, and said, I'm going to make a video about it. I know I'm only in the car, and something about being in the car freed me up to just let out. So that's pretty much why I started doing that in the car, because people were home. So, but I typically do it during the day, probably mid-afternoon-ish, if you will. Very few at night unless something big news breaks. The Atari box just ate up a city or something. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Actually, I'm in the same boat. I mean, I try to, I got the wife-kid thing going on here, so I can't just break out into a video when they're home. Oh, I could. It's just I prefer it when they're not home. Then I'm not going to be interrupted, and I can a couple of times I started filming a video and they came home and my daughter came running in the middle of it, and I was just like, damn, I had to stop it, and things like that. So I like it when I have time to do it. Usually when I do get my time, it's like, okay, maybe I have an hour here, so I better bang out as much as I can right now. And if I have several hours, I can do a couple of videos, and then I can kind of edit them at my leisure. So once I kind of do all the footage, then I can just be like, okay, get it on my computer and just start editing it as needed. You don't really follow a schedule, do you? I haven't noticed any schedule. You don't really follow a schedule.
I don't.
You just
I tried to once, and that just totally turned into a train wreck. I tried to just follow a couple days. Again, my videos are the idea comes to my head and I do it. If I don't have any ideas, there's no videos, Like right now, I actually, no, that's a lie. I do have a video I'm going to be making here pretty soon. It's going to be a multiple part, which goes against everything I just said about how I do my videos. This one's actually going to be planned. But for the most part, you'll see, if you look at the dates of my videos, they come in clusters. Like for a week or two, there'll be like one for 2 days, and then 3 days later, there'll be another one. And then after that cluster's over, there'll be 2 or 3 weeks in between, and then there'll be another cluster of videos. And it's just, I think what happens is I get burnt out on it. And then as I haven't done it for a while, an itch comes about, and an idea will be planted in my head somehow. Oh, maybe I should do a video about this. And
I better scoop it out before I forget, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Because there are some videos I was going to make that I said, I got to get to this. I didn't get to it right away, and gone.
The idea just disappears, or
the enthusiasm for it disappears.
The enthusiasm.
So I can't be genuine about what I'm talking about. I can't be. One of the things I guess people talk about when it comes to I don't like talking about my channel like this, but they say that you have this like little passion, enthusiasm, and you're kind of down to earth about it. And that's because I'm in that moment with whatever it is I'm talking about,
Yeah.
If I don't have that, I don't want to sit in front of the camera and go, yeah, this game's pretty rad. Go check it out, If I see that, it's gone,
Yeah. Well, I think it's great that you do it that way, because it does take the pressure off of saying I need to get a video up and I need to get it up now. I told myself I'm going to start with mandatory at least 2 videos a week. 3 to me would be too much. I don't know if I'd be able to keep up with it.
Right.
Frankly, because of life. Kids, wife, job, everything you have to do, responsibilities. So to say I'm going to be putting up 3 videos a week might be a little hard, because I know with my videos, it's not just always just me sitting in front of the camera, do one full take and then upload. If I did it that way, I could. But because I do a lot of the gameplay stuff, I need to set up things. So I have, say, right now in where my TV is downstairs, I have 3 systems set up. Usually at this, sometimes I'll have maybe 4, but then it gets too much. Like they're literally on top of each other.
Yeah.
And if I want to do, say, a comparison video, I need to make sure I have the 3 systems set up. I need to get the games ready. I need to plug it in. I need to play it, make sure that it looks good. Then I need to, then when all that's done, then I usually go and do the intro and the outro, or whatever you want to call it, the beginning piece and the end piece.
Right.
And then I know I'm going to have to stitch that together later. So it's a lot of time, right?
Sounds
and so it is. And those are my 2 mandatory videos that I want to do every week. I want to always, the Tuesday and the Thursday. So I feel like the constant, I got to come up with ideas. And that's what I've been, literally I have this, these are my scrap paper that I have on my desk right now with ideas. So I don't run out of ideas like that. It's kind of like a thing with me. It's kind of like an anxiety. What if I have nothing to say? What if I can't think of a video? What if I'm, what if Tuesday's coming along, I don't have a video and I can't think of one. So I'm kind of I better, every time an idea pops into my head, kind of like what you said, I got to write it down. So whether it be, a game or a topic or a question or, whatever, a movie I want to talk about, because I know you talk about movies too, which we can get into in a minute.
Yeah.
And then there's the sporadic stuff, and I love the sporadic stuff. Like, if anybody's watched any of my posts today, I just picked up some new games. I don't know if you can see that, but that's BC's Quest for Tires 2 on the ColecoVision, and this awesome double ender. And so after I bought this, I'm like, holy crap, like this I could do a video on for sure. And this could be interesting too. So there's two potential videos that I can come up with right there. That's spur of the moment. And then there's the news. I mean, that's the other thing. You know, like you said, if news breaks about the Atari box or VCS or whatever, or the Retron, those I find to be a little bit more, again, a little bit more anxiety. Like, for instance, the Intellivision news. Now, I got word of that from one of my viewers who sent me an email, had some kind of, like, he was friends on Facebook with Tommy Tellerico, and he sent me the information saying, listen, this is coming. Get some stuff together. And I'm like, what? Like, I never even heard of it. And so I was at work, and I'm like, okay, I got to get this video, like, up, like, ASAP when the news broke. Because I'm like, if I don't get it up now, everybody will have it up, and my video will fall behind, and nobody will care. So I'm like, I got to get home. I got to get my video. I got to jump in front of the camera. I got to, you know, get this going. And so I'm like, you know, I left work, and I'm like flying into my car like the Dukes of Hazzard, and just like flying down the highway. I'm like, I got to get home. I got to do the video. I got to get home. And then my wife calls me on the cell phone. She's like, can you pick up our daughter? I'm like, okay. I'm like, fine. So I pick her up, and I get home, and I'm like, oh, go do something fun. I'm going to be downstairs shooting a video. And you know, it's just that type of thing, right? Like, if I wanted to be one of those news people who's constantly like hitting on the latest news on all this stuff, I don't know. I don't think I could do it. Like, just,
you know, the
anxiety.
I don't try to do the news stuff anyway. I mean, of course, because Atari's in my name and that's my first love. Anything that comes out with Atari, I'm going to come out with a video. But I know exactly what you're talking about. There's a few times, if you watch some of my Atari box, when it was still called that, I'm in the bedroom. It's because something came up, and I'm like, oh my God. And I just literally ran into the bedroom, told everyone, shut up! And did a quick little, hey, you know? I don't like doing the
You know who's quick with that? No Swear Gamer, I've noticed. He gets stuff up quick. Yeah. I don't know how he does it. And, of course, anybody who does YouTube for, you know, full time, like RGT85, he's like, bang, right on it. There's news. He's got it, right? And the thing is, too, like, what's the problem with both of us is that we're retro. And there's not a whole lot of news breaking about retro stuff. I mean, just in all honesty, there isn't. So when there is that little bit of news, like when there is that Retron 77 that comes out, the VCS or whatever, it's tiny, and it's like, you know, we can do that. So, I mean, news for me is not. I don't want it to be my channel. It's not my thing. I'll do it. I'll throw my opinion out there, but I don't want to be like, you know, you got to be into modern stuff, right? You got to be into the Switch, or you know, doing all these Nintendo Switch videos. I don't want to do that because I'm not into it, and I don't want to pretend I'm into it just to get views, right? There'd be no passion from me because I don't know nothing about the Switch. I don't have one, and I don't know if I'll ever have one.
You know, it's funny talking about news. I mean, you want to talk about news on my channel. The latest thing I talked about was a block of Legos that looks like an Atari, you know?
Yes. And I actually, I really enjoyed that video. I was watching that. I thought that was cool. I mean, that's the type of thing I would totally want to buy if I saw that in a store. Yeah, and it's one of those campaigns where you can, I guess, people can vote on it, and then if Lego likes it, they'll actually release it as a real product.
Yeah,
I think that's what you got it.
I guess it comes down to votes. It's almost more like a petition. Lego actually, I didn't know anything about this. Lego sets this up, saying if you have an idea for something that you build, because there's so many of those really inventive and creative Lego builders. I don't know how the hell they do it. I can't even make a wall with Lego, okay? But these guys come up with these intricate things. And I guess the way it works is you put it up on this specific website that Lego set up. I think it's called ideas.lego.com. and you get people to look at it. And if you get up to 10,000 likes, I guess you'll call it. Like I said, it's a petition. You just click a button saying, "Yeah, I would back this."
Yeah.
After 10,000, they consider making it an actual retail product.
Basically, it's got to be viable to them because they're gonna have to put the money into it, right?
Those, I think it's called like the Women of NASA sets. Excuse me to the Lego folks. I don't. My girlfriend just built the damn thing too. We have it in the other room. But that started out with one of those kind of campaigns, you know.
Yeah.
They got X amount of follows or whatever, and now it's on the shelves to buy. You know.
The other one, I know the set that I have, the Back to the Future one, because you can tell I'm a Back to the Future fan, and I mean, I love the DeLorean. I own a DeLorean, so I mean,
really,
yeah, I do. Yeah, if you check my check my Facebook page, you'll see I got a picture of it up there. Unfortunately, I haven't been driving it much. It still needs a little bit of more work, but I mean, heck, it's still a DeLorean. But yeah, I mean, I used to build. I remember when I was a kid, or I was a little bit older. I mean, I was obsessed with Back to the Future, and I used to build out of my own Lego blocks DeLoreans, like the Back to the Future style. And I used to always wish that they came out with the set you could buy to actually just make it.
Right.
So I always had to use my own creativity, and they got better throughout the years as I got better at constructing. But then, they finally made one, and I got one for Christmas one year. I got the set for Christmas. I still have it in the basement, sitting up there on my man cave. It's one of those things like I don't want to open it. I just want to look at the box and just be like, oh, Back to the Future Lego. So I love how they do this, and I don't know about where you live. I know like in Canada they're in the bigger malls, but they have the Lego store.
Oh, God,
I don't know if you have those. Okay, so
yeah, and all the time drag me in there. I feel like a prisoner when we walk in there.
And you go in, you see all these things. Like the other one that I got is the Ghostbuster vehicle, the Ecto One.
Ecto. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually bought that for my daughter,
nice.
And I ended up putting it together, and it took me a while. It was when I was unemployed, so I was at home and I had the time to do it. And I ended up doing a video while I was constructing it. It's one of my first few videos. Like, you have to go back to my first few videos, like way back, and you'll see it there where I did a kind of like it was like a fun video. I was just being fun. I was having fun. It was a joke. And it was like me putting it together in little bits. And then I stopped the camera and went upstairs. I spent 2 hours, putting this thing together, half of it anyways. Went back downstairs, pretended I was just doing it right there. And I stopped it again, went upstairs, finished it, came back downstairs. And I was like, so cool. And then my daughter, when she saw that I put it together, she got upset. She's like, why did you put that together? I wanted to do blah, blah, blah. And she ended up tearing it all apart.
That's when you just
I haven't had literally, she just tore it all apart, and I was just like, my work. But so it was there for a little while, and now it's all in pieces again. And I just haven't had the time to want to put it back together.
No,
but I love Lego.
That's the thing about it, once you put it together and then put it back in a box, it doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it still looks cool, and and I have a bunch of the Star Wars Lego and stuff. And you go into the Lego store, you'll see them there. All the Star Wars. They have the Death Star on display. It was insane.
It's crazy.
And it was and they're expensive too, crazy expensive. For to build a Death Star, it's $400 something Canadian. I don't know about US prices, but I mean, okay. Canada's insane when it comes to pricing, right? Yeah. So everything's expensive here. Yeah, that's right. Canadian Zangief. Lego's awesome, but I can't get a second mortgage to buy the new ones.
Thank you.
That's exactly it.
Because some of them I would actually do, like the Millennium Falcon. Great. In the TIE Fighter.
Yeah.
Great.
I was looking at that.
Models, I guess you would call it. Are they models? Yeah, I would call them models.
Well, kind of.
But I just don't see spending that much for anything Lego. To be honest with you, I can't see it.
Yeah. Well, and the thing with Lego, like if you want to build it, and you gotta like, do you want to keep it set up and put it on display? Then you're gonna need the space for it,
Yeah.
and I mean, space is limited.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what type of house you're in, but like we're in a townhouse,
Yeah.
and you know I got my man cave in the basement, and I can only put out some stuff because I don't have the room, right? So I end up putting a lot of it into boxes and stuff. So majority of my toys, my Transformers and stuff, they're in boxes. I don't have room. So you'll see I have a few out, like my favorites. And on my videos, you only see about this square section of the man cave. You don't get to see what's behind me and all in the corners. Which reminds me, I have to do a man cave update video.
Yeah.
I like to do those every once in a while,
Right
just
on.
to show off, because people don't get to see it, right? It's just like now, you've been staring at the same background the whole video. I don't do any kind of panning or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's fun. So if anybody in the chat there has any questions or have been wanting to throw any questions, I've been trying to monitor the chat as we've been going along. But yeah, if I missed anything, if anybody had any questions for the Atari Creep or for me or for both of us, throw it out there. Looks like we got a troll in there. That's okay.
What's his name?
Calling us a bunch of Bill Padilla.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I think he's trolling us. I don't know. I just see a bunch of losers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all losers. We're losers. Whatever.
I'm a
Donald Trump for life. Oh, he's a Trump supporter. That's cool. Whatever.
Not going there, buddy.
So Jim's Retro Zone. He's been on the chat for quite a while now. He's a great guy. I know he's probably done some comments on your videos too.
Okay.
He has his own channel, just recently set up, and he does some live streaming and stuff. He wants to know what kind of phone you're using, because he also does his channel through his phone. I know he's. We were chatting offline a few times, and that's how he does his filming and stuff. So I guess he wants to know what kind of phone
right
you're
now,
using versus.
K10. It's way out of date. I'm just one of those guys that don't update if it doesn't have to happen. The phone works as it is, so I don't get as modern as it. I need the latest this. I'm normally a Samsung guy. I usually use the Note. My last phone was a Note 3.
Note,
yeah. But the one I'm using now is a K10, LG K10.
Cool. I don't know if that's the same one that Jim is using, or what's the other? Oh, okay. So Mr. Toon, he's a great guy too.
Okay.
Does a lot of comments on my videos too. He wants to know what favorite 2600 game for both of us.
Of all time.
That's a tough one.
You know what? I can honestly say Kaboom.
Favorite 26.
I can say Kaboom.
Kaboom?
Yeah.
So the paddle
More
style.
memories of that game growing up than any other game. And when I say memories, I mean literally 3 in the morning. You guys are delirious with exhaustion, laughing at every stupid thing, but still wrenching on that. There was just something about that one game. There's a lot I love, like you were saying, that's the tough one. But I can honestly say Kaboom.
Yeah, I actually remember always wanting to play Kaboom before I even had an Atari. It's kind of like I like the artwork of the box.
Yeah.
I always saw the box in the store. I like the artwork. I like the concept of it.
Okay.
And I like the paddle controller. And I didn't have obviously I didn't have any of that stuff, right? I had a Commodore 64, which does support the paddle controller, but I didn't have any paddle controllers. So I ended up borrowing an Atari from a friend once. They basically went on vacation and they said that I could borrow their Atari. And I was like, hell yeah. So I had all these games and Kaboom was one of them. And I just loved playing it. It was just so much fun. It was one of those ones that once I got my first Atari, I had to track down and find paddle controllers just so I could play that one game. So I can see you on that one.
Yeah.
I think for me, though, again, I didn't start off with Atari. So I think Keystone Capers was my favorite one.
Another fantastic one.
Yeah. And the reason was, this is probably what really got me to want to buy the Atari. I got the Atari Junior, And that was what? 80, when did that come out? 88, 89?
I want to say 88.
Yeah.
Someone will correct us.
Yeah, it came out. It was like, the Atari is back. It was trying to compete with Nintendo, and I guess SNES was out around the same time, and they were just trying to create this like cheaper, Atari, saying, hey, you can buy this for like $50, and the games are like $20, and so, but yeah,
7,800.
yeah, exactly. And so when I went into the store, when I went into like the Walmart type stores, I always saw it sitting there on the shelf, and I was like, that looks cool. Like, look, again, it was the box that sold me. It was the box of Keystone Capers that sold me. Like the whole. I had no idea how to play the game or what it looked like, because I just looked at it through the showcase, and that's what made me want to buy the Atari at the time. I'm like, I want that Atari, and I want that game. And so that was what I bought, and I ended up buying that one. And what else did I get? Midnight Magic at the same time, I think, which is an awesome pinball game. One of my favorite pinball games. I can't get enough of it.
I got a copy of it for the 8-bit system from Willie of Arcade USA.
Oh, Arcade USA.
He randomly sent it up to me.
That is so cool. For the 8-bit? Like,
for the 8-bit, yeah. 4 and 800 series.
Oh, cool. I gotta find that.
It came out for the GS because it's one of the XEGS cartridges. So I can't tell you definitively if it'll work on an 800 or not.
If it'll work on a 400.
So.
Yeah, I'm starting because I just bought my 400 just recently. I mean, I did a few videos on it, and actually in the store where I bought these ones, he had a ton of 8-bits in there, and I think the only one I didn't have was Pole Position. But I had to juggle between buying Pole Position or BC's Quest for Tires for the Coleco, and I ended up with this one because I didn't want to spend too much money. But I was just like on that kind of like. So we have the No Swear Gamers in the chat. That's awesome.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
He wants to know Coke or Pepsi. Oh.
I am a Pepsi guy. Unfortunately, because the little lady is a Coke person, I drink Coke.
You get Coke.
I'm a Pepsi guy. That's another easy one.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm in the same boat. I prefer Pepsi. I like Pepsi, but my wife, I think she likes Coke. But I think she'll drink anything anyways. But we don't really have a lot of pop in the house, so I typically stick with ginger ale, which is Canada Dry type of stuff.
Ginger ale's a New England drink. Everyone loves it here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't drink a lot of like. Well, you're American. Do you call it soda or pop? I call it pop, but.
Well, it's funny. It depends on where in the country. Some places call it pop, some call it soda. Here in Boston specifically, when I was growing up, it was called tonic.
Tonic.
So it depends on your generation and where you live. But we just call it
That's
soda.
Cool.
For the most part, people call it soda.
Soda, yeah. Okay. I don't drink a lot of that myself. I mean, when it's like hot outside, I really don't want something like sugary like that. So I typically will stick with beer. I'll go to the beer.
Right.
Let's see. I see if there's any other questions. I don't know. Oh yeah, Rex Warden is talking about the jittery paddles.
You can clean them.
That's interesting. Yeah, there is a way to clean them. I know I've pulled mine apart a bit.
Those paddles they basically work off of what they used to call a variant stat, a volume knob, a potentiometer. And if you get a little bit of contact cleaner, you open the thing up, there's holes in the side of the pot. It's a circular thing. You can get that in there and spray it, let it dry out. More times than not, that'll fix it. If you just wrench on it a little bit, it'll break up the contact, and you can actually replace that knob. But it's no different than a volume pot for your radio or guitar or something like that. So
that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it true that the Retron is not compatible with the paddles? Is that what I heard?
I did not hear that.
Or am I making that up? Okay, maybe I may.
Didn't work with it, but I heard that they did work just fine for like Kaboom and Breakout. Maybe I'm hearing wrong.
Possibly, I don't know. I know that the flashback, you can actually use the. I think for the flashback 8. Now I'm starting to remember. You can for some of the paddle games you could use the joystick, which is weird. If you ever try to use it, yeah, it's kind of like the portable when you're trying to use the gamepad thing. It just doesn't work.
No.
It works, but I mean it's terrible.
Well, some of those games on and off doesn't work. You need that steady flow of control, you know?
Yeah. Well, the controller, being able to do that. And, one thing I used to always wonder, and I still wonder today, is why was Space Invaders not a paddle game? I don't know if I've ever found that answer. Like, wouldn't that make logical sense to, do that? Because it just goes back and forth, right? And fires.
Yeah, you're going back and forth. The difference between digital and analog, though, is it's like I was saying a minute ago, it's either on or off. You don't really have control with digital, which is our D-pads, the joystick, and all that. When you press left, it just goes left.
Yeah.
You tell it to stop, When you have analog, like the paddles, you can tell it how fast to go and how slow to go, and you have a lot more control. So, you know what? You might be onto something there with that. For something back and forth, I wouldn't be too paddly, I guess. I guess Pong it worked fine. So maybe I'm just talking on my phone. I don't know. So yeah.
Well, yeah. If you look at a lot of the paddle games, I mean that's what it is, right? You're going back and forth, left or right. I mean the GI Joe game, like Breakout, the paddle going back and forth, and anything that doesn't require that different kinds of movement, right? Anything that's just going back and forth makes sense for the paddle, right?
Right.
And it can't be an age thing, right? Because the paddles came out at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know Space Invaders is an older game, but didn't the Atari come out with the paddle controllers?
Out with the paddle, and that's way before Space Invaders.
Yeah, there you go. So it just didn't make any sense.
Paddle and a regular controller is just how fast you can control it. With the paddles,
that's true. Yeah,
it's just more about you can control whether I want to go across the boards slowly or you want to whip back and forth. And that's where that.
Yeah. And that's why when you try and play on the portable, you try and play like Breakout, it's like literally unplayable. Like,
Yep.
I've tried and I'm like, I gave up. I've tried Kaboom and I'm like, forget it. I even tried it on my phone. Like, if you ever put like on your phone, like put the Activision classics or anything like that on your phone.
No, no, I can't imagine.
I did. I mean, it was handy because like I used to take the train to work, so I'd play like some games worked well. Like Hero, I was able to play Hero okay because you'd have the directional pad kind of, but it's touchscreen. But if you try playing Kaboom on a phone, forget it. Like by the time you it just doesn't work.
You would think in theory that would work better actually on a tablet. In theory, execution.
In theory.
Different animal.
Yeah, in theory, but I think because the response time, like you said, it's all about the response time with the paddles, right?
Yep.
And being able to control how fast and quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, what else have we got in there? It's like, Mr. Toon's talking about the trackball. Now that's another thing. I don't know. Do you have the trackball for your Atari at all?
I don't right now. I used to have first party branded Atari one. And I had the Wiko Command one. That was actually my favorite one. I didn't use them too much on the Atari because I felt the Atari wasn't designed to go analog at all with controls, with the exception of the paddles. And there's just something special about the way a trackball works. I don't know exactly what it is, but for me, I could never get it to jive. So I had them. I used them once in a while just to say I did, but for the most part, I never really used them. No.
Yeah, I have a trackpad for my trackball for the ColecoVision. So again, it was one of those finds in it was a thrift shop, I think.
Right.
And it's in the box, and it came with one game called Slither, and I think that's the only game I have that uses it. So, I mean, I plugged it in once. It's a big, huge contraption. It actually has a slot to put the control. Yes. But and there's one for the Atari 5200 too, right? Like
And that
I
one
think
works
that's
pretty well.
yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
'Cause there's a lot more games for that are compatible with it, right? Like Centipede and stuff. Like I think
your brakes out.
I don't know. Is Centipede like for the arcade? Centipede was a trackball, right?
It was a trackball.
Was it not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes sense to make it. Your dream cabinet would be a Centipede?
Yeah.
I would totally be on the Donkey Kong route myself.
Nice.
All right. Well, if any more questions, just last questions, throw them out there. If anybody wants to, have any questions. Someone's talking about Congo Bongo. I think that was probably part of the favorite games out there. Congo Bongo's great. Yeah. All right, Mr. Tune just subbed the Atari Creep. Awesome.
Right.
Thanks, Mr. Tune.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. He supports me on Patreon too.
Awesome.
A couple of Patreon supporters. Star Trek. What about Star Trek? He's asking about Star Trek. I don't know if he's talking about the game. He's talking about the stuff. Just quickly too, just to throw it out there before we end this, you know.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. One question came in from Green Lantern. Mr. Creep, what's the best experience with your channel?
Best experience. I'm going to say an overall one, and I know this is going to be a cliche, maybe a cop-out thing, but the people I actually got to meet through it. Overall, that's probably the best experience. I don't have any wacky stories as far as I don't know. There's people in other countries, especially up in Canada and stuff, that I probably would never have met as a result of that. And
like me,
there's a few times in my life where things weren't, jiving too well, but it kind of kept me going. It actually kept the channel itself going, to be honest with
you. The people.
Just the cool cats I've met. And there's some that I really don't communicate with often as much. And they don't do much on YouTube or anything, so it's not that kind of a deal. But we still kind of stay in touch. And I was just actually invited to something up in Chicago that's coming up. There's a group called the Cartridge Brothers. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They have this thing called the Cartridge Club. It's kind of like a book club where, a bunch of ladies sit down and read a book, and at the end of the month they sit and talk about it. It's the same thing for video games. It's called the Cartridge Club.
Cool.
And I guess they're having a big get-together up in Chicago. There's a bunch of us here from the States and up in Canada that are getting together in Chicago as a middle ground for the state. So we still keep in contact that way. But just all the cool cats I've gotten to meet doing this, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I think I'm in the same boat. I mean, meeting so many different people from all over the world. I mean, even just people like Synth Spacies in Australia. I don't know if you watch his channel at all. He's another great YouTuber.
A list of these channels.
There's tons of
YouTuber and Facebook guy. I am so lazy when it comes to anything online. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, if like through Twitter, I think a lot of people is on Twitter, so you get a lot of the handles on Twitter. Okay. Follow Friday things where you get like a ton of links. Since he's in Australia, he used to work for the Sega hotline, which is cool.
Oh, nice.
And I actually did a live before I even started doing my live chats on my channel. I did kind of one with him and a couple other people. But it wasn't live. Like, it was live, but it wasn't live because he didn't make it public on his channel. So he wanted to edit it and then put it out there. So, but yeah, I mean, just knowing, like, talking to people in Australia, talking to people in Germany and England, I mean, it's just awesome. And I'm like blown away because I didn't know, you don't really know too much going on outside your own little bubble, right? You live in a city, a town, or wherever. Mm-hmm. You don't know what's going on out there. So when you actually get to like talk to these people, and it's like, I didn't know. Like, I talked to people in Brazil, like, things like that, where it's like, wow, I didn't even know you guys had things like this in Brazil. So yeah, I can totally see where you're going with that. that's probably the best experience out of all of this. And this is it's what makes it worth it. I mean, and I know there's a bunch of people in the chat that have come and gone that were talking, and they have their channels, and I know they say the same thing. It's just like you get to meet all these people, and they're not all just people in your neighborhood. They're people from all over the place. I mean, for me, I talk to a lot of Americans, and I don't normally talk to Americans, so that's cool. I mean, it's just cool to be able to do that.
One of my best friends I met through YouTube. He's
exactly.
Up in Canada. I watched a little video of him repainting a toy lightsaber, and now we talk crap back and forth every day, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. And if they don't connect to you through YouTube, usually they see you on YouTube, and then they connect to you through like Facebook or something, right? Like all of a sudden you're just getting all these people that are like want to be friends with you on Facebook, and it's like, hey, dude, I saw your channel and I just want to talk with you. I was like, okay, right. Because I get all these requests. I'm like, who is that? I'm like, and then I click on it. It's like, oh, he knows so and so and so and so. Oh, okay, he's cool. Why not? They end up with a lot of cool people like Green Lantern, Mr. Toon, everybody in the chat, Billy O.
Nice.
I mean, it's awesome. Jim's Retro Zone. But yeah, I just wanted, before we wrap up, I just wanted to mention about the movie thing, because I know you talk about movies. So where are you on that spectrum? Because I know that I do dabble in that a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like I do like a flip picks, because I don't want to be a movie reviewer. I just don't have that kind of skill. I can't be like, go and watch the latest film and then get home and then do a video on it. But, where do you find on that one? Do you just kind of throw them out there whenever they hit you? Or?
Yeah, and, again, like everything else, it's sporadic and it's very OCD. Not OCD, I'm sorry, ADHD. Look, a squirrel. Yeah. Watch this movie. Let me talk about it for a minute. And
yeah.
What have I done? Like 3 or 4 of them? Like this new Halloween's coming out in October.
I saw that. Yeah, you were talking about Halloween for a while.
Yeah, you can bet that I'm going to be doing a video on that. Just very sporadic movies here. Now, see, I am more of a movie guy than I am actually a video game guy.
That's interesting.
I know the stupidest things about these films and their production, that kind of thing, like stuff you shouldn't know. Just why would you know that?
You just get into it too much.
Probably be based on that, but it's not, obviously. So I just had this idea to throw up, hey, let's talk about a movie once in a while, with the idea of maybe bringing out a classic and telling why I love it so much. And again, it never happened. Well, so like I'll go see a movie like Blade Runner had that new movie, amazing. I can't even remember which few I did, but
did you see Ready Player One by any chance?
I did actually. I did a video on that one as well. I think.
Yeah, so there you go.
That was a great.
you did it in your head, but whether it hit the actual YouTuber or not.
Yeah, right. No, that was a great movie. A lot better than I anticipated, to be honest with you. A lot better.
I know. Well, I read the book years ago. Mm-hmm. And I was in love with the book. I mean, I was like, I don't even own a copy of the book. I had to borrow it from the library, which is, but I mean, I loved that book from page. I was actually upset at the end because it was done. I was like, oh, it's over. I mean, I really loved the book. So, and I never thought the movie would ever exist. I mean, I was just like, there's no way, because there's everything in here, right? There's Back to the Future, there's Ghostbuster references, there's Atari references, everything's in there. And I'm like, how could they get all the copyrights to that? But the answer came when it was Steven Spielberg. So I'm like, he's the genius behind all these things. So,
yeah, I mean, I do remember I did do a video on it because I brought my copy of Adventure talking about why is it so expensive?
Yes, the Adventure debacle. Everybody was like, all of a sudden, selling to Adventure for $15 to $20. I'm like, I used to see those all the time for $2. I mean,
yeah, people still to this day are talking. I can't get a hold of one. I'm like, really?
It's kind of like the whole ET thing, right? When they did the whole dig, and ET became a big spectacle again, and the poor guys on Atari Age Facebook group, where every time someone throws another ET post, people just want to go and shoot them.
I like those. It's like, I really like that. I'm that guy
Yeah.
sitting back with the popcorn watching that. That's great stuff.
And yeah, every time there's a new person who joins the Atari group, someone will be like, "Hey guys, what's your thoughts on ET?" And everybody's like, "Oh, screw off,
Yep.
enough of your ET."
Yeah,
But
someone's got to lose their mind over it. It's funny.
It's crazy. There's the haters on it and stuff. It's a big mess. And
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to get Howard Scott Warshot to do a video one day. I've been in talks with him, so hopefully I can actually pull that off.
He seems like
That'd be so cool. Yeah, I've talked to him before, and actually when I contacted him last a couple months ago, he said he was really swamped. So he told me to email him back again. And actually today, out of the blue, he accepted my Facebook friend request, which was weird. Like I was just like something popped up on my phone. I'm like, oh, I went into Facebook and he accepted my friend request. So I'm like, and I put that in like months ago.
Right.
So I was like, oh, cool. So who knows? Maybe it'll happen.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. Okay, I think we're out of questions here in the chat. There's going to be the comment section below. Feel free to throw some more questions in there. I'll answer if Chris gets on there. He can answer them.
Yeah.
And it'll be we'll always throw some questions in there. We'll always try to answer them as best we can. I just want to thank Chris, the Atari Creep, for joining me on this live chat. It was a lot of fun. I think, yeah, we had talked a lot about everything we could possibly think of. And so, and there's been a lot of great people in the chat. I mean, everybody in there. I mean, we got Jim.
I wish I could see it. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, he's using a phone, so you have to excuse him. He doesn't have the multiple windows. So he's relying on me to relay the chat to him. But we had Jim's Retro Zone in there. We got Mr. Tune, got Canadian Zangief. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry. Did I say Green Lantern? Who else we got in there? We got another one I probably am going to mess up. Uncon Bentinel? How the heck did I screw that one up? People got some really weird handles that I really can't pronounce, so it's my fault entirely. Irmo Custom Models. I think you mentioned that one. Yep. Did I say that right? Irmo?
Yeah.
Who else have we got in here? I know Billy O was there. Die Hard Gamer Bros. Rex Warden was in there for a while. I know he likes to hide in the background sometimes.
Yeah.
Upped in for a bit. And we had Bill Padilla. I'm not sure if he was trolling us or not, but there was a lot of harsh words coming out of him. I don't know if he was talking to somebody or if he was... that's the problem. Like sometimes the it scrolls by so fast, it's hard to know what people are saying. While we're talking anyways. And who else? I know we had J-Love in here for a bit. Again, I'm going to be doing a chat with her next Sunday.
Nice.
Probably around this time, 8-9 o'clock. So yeah,
cool.
Watch that. I got a few other people that are also interested. I'm working on slotting them in. Radical Reggie, who is one of the Metal Jesus Rocks crew.
Yeah, I know Radical. Not personally, but I know.
Oh, and who else was there? There was someone else. Well, there was a few people. I don't know. I got a bunch of names. People that are ready to go. John Riggs is interested. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be fun. I love doing these chats. It's just a way to communicate with people live and have the chat going and, just talk about whatever. Yeah. Anyways, thanks everybody for stopping by.
Yeah,
it's been a great time. And we'll see you in the chats afterwards in the comments section. Talk to you later.